Hey, John here, and today we're going to look at an systematic solfege exercise. And that sounds really dry and boring, and it's really not, I mean, it's kind of dry, but if you really focus on it, it's kind of meditative instead of boring. And the results are very, very good. So it's it's a really good thing to spend some time on, preferably daily. So, and I've had a lot of success with this, as well as many of my students. I mean, every student that I've shown this to and that I've actually done it have had some great results as well. So give it a try for a couple of weeks daily, and I'm sure you'll see the benefits. Okay, so what you'll need for this exercise is some manuscript paper, some notation paper, and a pencil, or pen, doesn't really matter, something to write with. And so that's the first thing, and you'll also need something to hold down your do while you're singing each of these pair of notes I'm gonna show you in the exercise. And what I use to sing over, it's a drone, and I actually use this one here from Spotify. It's called Musician's Practice Partner, and it's available here in Sweden, and I don't know, it sort of varies all over the world what kind of music is available. So hopefully it's available all over the world. I can't really see any reason it wouldn't be, but but anyway, you can search for it: Musician's Practice Partner Cello Drones. Okay, and what you want to do is to start the drone, in this case be C, and the exercise itself is notating while singing what you're notating, and it's a sort of a specific sequence here. So we'll start out with do, like I said, and we'll go from do to each of the other notes in the scale in turn. So you always go back to this first note. Okay, all the way up until you reach the octave. So you get do here and do here. Okay, so you're sort of comparing each note of the scale to, in this case, do. So that's the first part of the exercise. And once that's done, you start at the top and then you go back down. So you get do, ti, do, la, do, and as you can hear, I'm not singing the notes, I'm just saying them. But you should, and you can hear the piano sound here from Sibelius, but you should do this by hand, and the only thing that's sounding is your voice and the drone. So no instrument involved. So the only reference you will have is the drone. Okay, that's really important. And the actual notation of this is I see it as groups of three. So I would notate this the first part of the exercise like this. So do, and I sing that while I notate it. Re, sing re while I notate that. Sing do while I notate that. Okay, so that's the first one, and then I would go sing do, sing mi, sing do, fa, do. Okay, and keep doing this until you reach do at the top. So it's really important that you sing while you notate, and that you sing the actual syllables, because this will sort of program every syllable into your brain. Okay, so that's what you need to have in mind while doing this. And like I said, when you get up to, you move up until you get to the top here, so you get do, 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 and once you're up here, you start over, but from the top octave. So you start do, go down to T, and up to do, and do, la, do, do, so, do, and so on until you come down to do again. Okay? So once you've done that, you're done with do. And also, you see the notation here, you have quarter notes and a quarter rest. When I do this on paper, I only notate the note heads. I don't care about the stems because the rhythms aren't relevant here. It's just a melodic exercise. So only the note heads, and also I don't use bar lines or anything, just a small space between each 3-note group. Okay? So the important thing here is to see each note head on the page and see, you sort of pair that up with your singing, and eventually it'll be like reading. You just see something and you'll hear it. Okay, and so that's the first. Now we're done with this part here, the first note. But now I mean, you could have done this without the drone, because you're always going back to the do, I mean the root of the scale. But the drone is really important when you start out from the other notes here, because once you start comparing each note to re, like this, do the same thing, re, and you always go up. So I don't go re, do, I go re, mi, re, and re, fa, re, re, so, re. If we didn't have the drone in the background, you would start hearing this note as the root, and this C major scale would then turn into a D Dorian scale in your mind, and that's not what we want. What we want here is to keep this as a C major scale and hear everything in relation to that. Let's see here, because what also would happen that re, it wouldn't sound like re here. It would sound like, this would sound like do all of a sudden. But when you have the real do in the drone, it's much easier to keep your place and really hear the correct relationship. Because when you want to work on the Dorian scale, you really want to work on it correctly. So then, in that case, we would have do, re. This would be a minor, so May instead, and then a lowered 7th as well. So, but that's for another video. But yes, you know. So when you're working on modes, you still want to hear the root of that mode as do, and that's the whole point of this solfege system. So you can actually hear the correct relations. But anyway, we have this re, mi, re, re, fa, re, re, so, re, la, re, and you keep going until you go up to re, do, re, and then finally re, re, re. So for each of these exercises, you'll start on whatever note you're starting on, and you'll go up until you reach the octave of that note that you started on. Okay? So you don't stop at do, you stop at re above do, and when you go to mi, you will stop at mi above do, and so on. But as in the first exercise. When we're done with starting on the low Re, it might sound confusing, but when you get up to the higher octave Re, you start there and you move down, so you get Re, Do, Re, Re, Ti, Re, and again you sing this at the correct pitch, and you don't have any instruments. That's a huge part of the exercise. So you provide everything else, and that's hard at first, and that's the whole point of it. So just be happy when you find something that's real hard. You maybe have a really hard time going back to Re all the time here, but that just means that you're not as comfortable with Re as you were with Do, and that's sort of a weakness you have in your ear. And simply by working on it, you'll get better. So you'll get rid of that weakness. So that's why it's a good thing to find something that you really suck at. So try, if you think of adversity like that, it's much easier, and it really is true. You know, if you find something you're not good at, keep doing it and try to find out why you can't really do it, and eventually you'll be able to do it, and you can move on to the next weakness and keep going like that. Okay, so you keep doing this until you go all the way down to Re, 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 Re. Okay, then you're done with Re, and then you start with Mi, and again you start Mi, and you go up. So you don't go Mi, Re, Mi, you go Mi, Fa, Mi, and keep going up, Mi, So, Mi, and you keep that up again until you come up to the octave of Mi. Okay, and then you start it over. So you go Mi, Re, Mi, Mi, Ti, Mi, Do, Mi, and so on until you come down to where you started, E. Okay, and you keep going like that, starting on Fa, so you got Fa So, Fa La, Fa Ti, Fa Do, and so on, and starting on Fa up here and going down, and then you start on So, up and down, La up and down, Ti up and down, and then you're back at Do, and then you've already done that. So okay, and by doing this you have shut this down. By doing that you have covered every possible interval within the major scale, because and within one octave. But since it's about the feel and sound of each of these syllables, it doesn't really matter if you go Do, Re, Do, or Do, Do, Re, Do, because it's in your mind eventually each Re will have the same flavor, albeit it might be higher or lower, and might be harder to hear in some places, but it's still the same, but just a sort of a different nuance. So and everything else when it comes to melodies and stuff like that, it's built on these units of 2 notes. So if we have something like, well, let's just say this scale here. Oops, let's see. That's really built of this one here, Do, Re, and then Re, Mi, Mi, Fa, Fa, So, Sol, La, Ti, Do. It's this, let's say that this was a scale run in a piece of music. It's really built of these two note patterns linked together. So no matter how complicated you get, that's basically true. So if you have worked through all of these possible combinations, and I mean this is only the major scale, but when you do it through all the modes and the pentatonics and octatonic scales and whatever scales or you're studying at the time, and going through all the keys and stuff like that, and especially when it's solfege, you're effectively in every key at the same time, because the sound and relationship will sound the same regardless if it's C major or E major or G major or whatever. So that's the beautiful thing with this movable do system. Yeah, so when you go through when you work on something new, this is a really effective method to really get a handle on it pretty quickly. Another thing to keep in mind here is that since the important part here is that we get to zone in on each of these solfege syllables, because when you compare everything to mi, for example, you really repeat this note a lot, and you have to keep that in mind, so it really gets stronger pretty quickly, and especially the ones where you maybe not as used to, so like holding down T, which can be feel kind of dissonant compared to singing do or so, or you know what I mean. That really gets stronger, and you get a real feel for each interval like that, or each solfege syllable, and all the other modes that you come across. It's really, I mean, the major scale is really the building blocks of everything. So it's nice to get a nice handle on that first, but also know that all the work you put in here will come to will help you out when you move on as well. Because if we, let's just, before we end the video, compare C major scale with a C Lydian mode. The only difference here is that this note is sharpened, so one step higher, so we get Fi instead of Fa. Okay, so all the work you put in here, comparing each note here, the only note that's different is this one. So the more you work on different modes and all that stuff, there's so much that's reoccurring when it comes to the scale degrees, because that's what music is built on. So I guess my point is that you'll get to, it's easy to feel like, oh, there's so much that I need to work on, but there's actually kind of a limited amount of material that you really need to learn. So it's just how you combine it later on. So but I would suggest that you start with the major scale if you're new to this, but if not, just apply this to whatever mode or scale you're working on. I mean, so it's really effective, and I can't recommend it enough. And it takes about actually, I don't want to put a time on it, but it's when you do this, try to strive for really hearing everything that you're doing. So and focus in on the actual solfege syllables more than, I mean, you want to hear the intervals as well. I mean, the intervals between the notes as well. But when you let's say you're working on do, la, do, try to, you hear the do and then try to imagine the flavor and feel of la. before you jump up to it. You know, because this will also help you with not feeling that many people have problems with skips in sight singing. But once you start to get a good grasp of the feel of each interval, you could technically not even have to think about the actual intervals in between. But so it's sort of like almost a perfect pitch kind of situation within one key, if you will. So you can, just by the sound and feel of each of the intervals here, or each of the solfege syllables, you can sort of navigate larger skips or whatever. But I would go for both. But the important thing here is that you really try to focus in on the actual flavor of each scale degree or solfege syllable. Okay, so feel the leap as well, the interval between, but really feel the flavor of each solfege syllable. I hope this is helpful and clear enough so you can apply it. And just to recap, you need a drone, you need a pencil and some manuscript paper and some patience. Oh, and your voice as well. And like I said, I didn't want to torture you by singing this, but you should definitely sing this yourself and not play it on an instrument. Use the drone and gain some confidence in that. It's really not that difficult once you start to get going. You get some confidence in your abilities. So, and that only comes with work. So it's important to do it. If you have any questions or comments, just leave the comments below, and you can send me an email through my website. Everything is linked below, and yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and all that stuff, and I'll keep doing these videos. Thanks again, and talk to you later. Bye.